The news traveled across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 100 worlds, alien governments held emergency sessions. The impossible had happened twice now. Humans, the primitive species that shouldn't even have spaceflight, had destroyed the greatest military force in galactic history. Zeph-9 processed the battle data for the 17th time. The Silicon Collective's most advanced computers couldn't make sense of what they had witnessed. Every model, every calculation, every strategic analysis said the humans should be extinct. The Vortani Grand Fleet represented the combined military might of 3 star systems, Zeph-9 reported to the Collective Council. 10,000 ships, each equipped with the most advanced energy weapons and defensive systems in the galaxy. They lost 60% of their forces to 200 primitive vessels. The calculations are wrong, declared Prime Node Alpha 12. Reanalyze the data. I have analyzed it 43 times. The data is correct. Human tactical doctrine is based on principles we do not understand. On the crystal throne of the Centauri Republic, Chairman Prex Null called together his military advisors. The elegant blue-skinned beings stood in their formal robes, but their usual calm was gone. How do we defend against weapons that ignore energy shields? Asked General Vexcol. We cannot, admitted Admiral Renvash. Our entire military philosophy is based on energy weapon exchanges. We have no defense against kinetic projectiles. Then we must negotiate with them, Prex Null decided. If we cannot fight them, we must find another way to coexist. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Species that had never worried about military threats suddenly realized they were defenseless against human weapons. Panic spread through diplomatic channels as governments tried to figure out how to deal with creatures who fought wars completely wrong and kept winning. Dr. Chohana found herself the busiest person in human space. Her small embassy on New Terra was flooded with alien diplomats all wanting to talk. Some came to negotiate non-aggression pacts. Others wanted to study human technology. A few brave species asked if they could hire human mercenaries. The Spiral Federation offers a formal alliance, announced Ambassador Kretel during the morning diplomatic briefing. In exchange for human protection from the Vortani Empire, we will provide star charts and trade agreements. Chohana made notes. What kind of protection are you looking for? Total protection. The Vortani have threatened to destroy our colony worlds if we continue talking to humans. Your people seem to be the only ones who can stop them. Before she could answer, her aide announced another visitor. Velnoth of the Geometric Alliance glided into the room, its crystalline form reflecting rainbow light from the embassy's windows. Human Hana, the alien said in its harmonic voice. My people wish to purchase human weapons. We will pay any price. We're not really in the weapon-selling business, Chohana replied carefully. Then we request human military advisors, beings who can teach us your combat methods. Kretel's feathers ruffled with agitation. The Spiral Federation made the first alliance request. The Geometric Alliance offers better trade terms, Velnoth responded, its body flashing with competitive colors. Chohana held up her hands. Everyone calm down. We're not picking favorites here. Humanity is interested in peaceful relations with all species. Both aliens started talking at once, their translator systems creating a chaos of competing languages. This was happening every day now. Species that had maintained dignified diplomatic relations for centuries were arguing like children over human attention. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Kim Bo was dealing with a different kind of chaos. Human governments were finally waking up to the fact that they had become the most powerful military force in the galaxy, and everyone wanted a piece of the action. The European Federation wants to build their own fleet, reported Commander Najin. So does the African Union, the Pacific Alliance, and the American states. Everyone wants human warships now that they know they work. And our production capacity? We can maybe build 50 new ships this year. The demand is for thousands. Kimbo studied the strategic reports. Human space now consisted of 47 colony worlds, each one defended by a handful of warships that could defeat entire alien fleets. But there weren't enough ships to protect Earth's expanding interests. What about alien production facilities? He asked. That's the interesting part, sir. Several species are offering to build ships for us. They have the industrial capacity, but they want to learn our design principles in exchange. This was causing its own problems. Engineer Park Sun's workshops on New Terra were flooded with alien engineers trying to understand human military technology. Most of them couldn't grasp the basic concepts. "But why do you build everything with so much redundancy?" asked Chief Engineer Tex Von of the Mechanical Consortium. The robot-like being studied the plans for a human destroyer, its optical sensors whirring in confusion. "Because things break in combat," Park Sun explained patiently. "If you only have one of something and it gets destroyed, you're out of luck. But redundant systems add weight and reduce efficiency. So, we're not trying to win efficiency awards. We're trying to not die." Tex Von processed this information. Its species had spent millennia optimizing their designs for maximum performance. The idea of deliberately making systems less efficient for reliability was alien to their thinking. "Show me your weapon." "Systems again," the robot requested. Park Sun led it to the testing range where human weapons were being demonstrated. A railgun the size of a building fired a test round at a derelict asteroid. The chunk of metal, moving at 10% of light speed, vaporized the entire asteroid. "This is your standard ship weapon?" Tex Von asked. "One of them. We also have nuclear missiles, particle beam cannons, and these new things I call kinetic kill vehicles." "What is a kinetic kill vehicle?" Park Sun grinned. "It's a missile that doesn't explode. It just hits things really, really hard." The concept broke something in Tex Von's programming. Weapons were supposed to use energy to create destruction. The idea of a missile that just hit targets with kinetic force was so primitive it didn't compute. "Your people fight like barbarians," the robot finally said. "Barbarians who win," Park Sun pointed out cheerfully. Back at the Vortani Empire's capital world, Admiral Grakthul faced the disgrace of total defeat. The High Council had stripped him of rank and assigned him to a supply depot on the edge of Vortani space. His replacement, Admiral Hexkoth, was tasked with finding a way to fight humans effectively. "Analysis shows their armor is simple metal alloys," Hexkoth reported to the Council. "We could potentially penetrate it with kinetic weapons of our own." "Build kinetic weapons?" High Counselor Vexnarn's patterns flashed with disgust. "Use primitive methods? Never. Then how do we fight them?" "We do not fight them. We find allies. Other species who understand the threat these barbarians represent to galactic civilization." The Vortani began reaching out to other military powers, trying to build a coalition against human expansion. They found some support among species who were horrified by human tactics, but many others were more interested in learning from humanity than fighting them. On the neutral trading station Deep Space Nine, representatives from dozens of species gathered for an unofficial summit. The topic was simple: what to do about humans. "They are disrupting the entire galactic order," complained Ambassador Quinn Rex of the Star Kingdom. "Their crude methods make our advanced civilizations look primitive by comparison." "Perhaps," suggested Captain Dralthu of the Free Traders, "our civilizations are primitive. If our weapons and tactics cannot defeat simple kinetic weapons, what does that say about our military science?" The debate raged for hours. Some species wanted to ban human weapons as uncivilized. Others wanted to study them. A few bold voices suggested that maybe the humans were right and everyone else was wrong. Meanwhile, human expansion continued. Colony ships launched toward new star systems every month, each one protected by warships that could defeat any opposition. Human traders began appearing in alien markets, offering goods made with industrial techniques that hadn't been seen in the galaxy for millennia. The most shocking development came from an unexpected source: the ancient hegemony worlds, ruins of a civilization that had vanished millions of years ago, began showing signs of activity. Deep space monitoring stations detected energy signatures unlike anything in their databases. Ships that phased in and out of normal space-time began appearing near the old hegemony borders. Commander, Najin's intelligence network was the first to realize the truth. Something ancient and powerful was waking up. And it wasn't happy about all the noise the younger species were making. "Sir," he reported to Admiral Kim Bo, "we're detecting massive energy signatures from the hegemony ruins. Whatever's out there, it makes the Vortani Grand Fleet look like fishing boats." Kim Bo studied the sensor reports. The energy readings were off the charts, representing technology far beyond anything currently known to galactic civilization. "How long before they reach inhabited space?" he asked. "Unknown, sir, but based on their current trajectory, they're heading straight for the galactic core. They'll encounter the major civilizations within months." Kim Bo nodded grimly. Admiral Grakthul stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Glory, and felt satisfaction deep in his thorax. Behind him stretched the largest military formation in galactic history. 10,000 Vortani ships arranged in perfect geometric patterns that had taken decades to calculate. Each vessel glowed with energy shields, their plasma cannons charged and ready. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "the human fleet has been detected. 215 vessels holding position near the third planet." "Only 200 ships?" Grakthul's mandibles clicked with amusement. "The primitives are even more foolish than I thought." The human fleet looked tiny against the massive Vortani formation. Admiral Kimbo watched the alien ships approach on his command screen. Each enemy vessel was a work of art, all smooth curves and glowing energy fields. They moved together like a single living organism. His own ships looked like floating scrapyards by comparison. Thick armor plating, exposed weapon systems, and crude sensor arrays. The newest human vessels were particularly ugly, massive rectangular blocks that looked more like flying warehouses than warships. "All ships, this is Admiral Kimbo," he broadcast to the human fleet. "Remember what we practiced. Stay spread out, stay unpredictable, and keep shooting until they stop moving." Captain Li Wu received the message on his ship, the Sledgehammer. Around him, his crew made final preparations. Engineer Park Sun had outdone herself with this ship. It was less a warship than a flying weapons platform held together with steel plates and determination. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Yun Dal, "the enemy is broadcasting to us." Grakthul's image appeared on the main screen. The alien admiral's 4 eyes glowed with confidence. "Primitive humans, you face the combined might of the Vortani Empire. 10,000 ships of the line, each one worth 100 of your crude metal boxes. Surrender now and we will grant you quick deaths." Li Wu looked around his bridge at his crew of 20 humans. They looked back at him with grins that would have worried any sane enemy. "Tell him we're busy," he said. The message that went back was simpler. "Come and take them." Grakthul's eyes flashed with rage. "All ships advance to combat range. Maintain formation. We will show these barbarians the meaning of civilized warfare." The Vortani fleet moved forward like a vast tide of light. 10,000 ships in perfect synchronization, their formation so precise it could be calculated down to the meter. It was the most beautiful and terrifying sight in galactic military history. The human fleet did the opposite. Ships scattered in random directions, breaking every rule of space warfare. Some accelerated straight at the enemy. Others veered off at impossible angles. There was no pattern, no formation, no coordination that alien analysts could detect. "What are they doing?" demanded Grakthul's tactical officer. "This makes no strategic sense." "They're being human," Grakthul said grimly. "Fire when in range. All ships, maximum power." The space between the fleets lit up with energy beams. 10,000 plasma cannons fired at once, creating a wall of destructive power that should have vaporized anything in its path. The energy display was visible from 3 star systems away. The beams struck the human ships and bounced off, not completely. Some armor plating glowed white-hot. A few outer hull sections melted away, but the ships kept coming. Park Sun's triple-layered armor design worked exactly as planned. The energy that should have destroyed human vessels just made them angry. "Impossible," screamed Grakthul. "No ships can survive that much concentrated firepower." "Sir," his science officer reported, "their armor appears to be simple metal alloys with cooling systems. Our energy weapons heat the metal but cannot penetrate the thickness. Then fire again. Pour more power into the beams." The second barrage was even more intense. The Vortani ships drained their energy reserves to create plasma beams hot enough to melt asteroids. Again, they struck human armor. Again, the ugly metal ships kept coming, and then the humans fired back. 200 railguns spoke at once. They didn't create pretty light shows. They just threw chunks of metal at incredible speeds. The projectiles were invisible until impact. The front line of the Vortani formation simply disappeared. 50 elegant ships, each one a masterpiece of alien engineering, destroyed in seconds by crude kinetic weapons. Their energy shields, designed to stop plasma and lasers, offered no protection against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. "Evasive maneuvers," Grakthul ordered, but the Vortani fleet couldn't evade. They had spent so much time perfecting their formation that breaking it was unthinkable. Military doctrine required maintaining position while exchanging fire with the enemy. The humans had no such restrictions. Captain Li Wu's ship, the Sledgehammer, accelerated directly toward the largest concentration of enemy vessels. His railguns fired continuously, each shot punching through multiple alien ships. Sir, his weapons officer reported, we're running low on standard ammunition. Switch to the special rounds, Li Wu ordered. The special rounds were Park Sun's latest creation, nuclear-tipped railgun projectiles. When they hit enemy ships, they didn't just punch holes, they exploded. The first nuclear railgun round struck a Vortani heavy cruiser. The ship didn't just die. It became a small sun for 3 seconds, vaporizing everything within a kilometer radius. Across the Vortani fleet, panic set in. Ships that had maintained perfect formation for decades began breaking ranks. Captains who had never experienced real combat found themselves facing weapons that made no sense. They're using atomic weapons, reported Grakthul's science officer. In ship-to-ship combat? That's barbaric. Primitive. No civilized species uses nuclear weapons in space. Meanwhile, Commander Najin's ship demonstrated another human innovation. When his main engines were destroyed by concentrated plasma fire, instead of retreating or surrendering, he ordered the ship to ram the nearest enemy vessel. The Vortani captain of the target ship watched in horror as a burning human warship accelerated directly toward his position. This wasn't in any tactical manual. Ships were supposed to withdraw when critically damaged, not attack more aggressively. The collision destroyed both vessels, but the psychological impact rippled through the alien fleet. The humans were willing to die to kill their enemies. They turned their own destruction into weapons. Admiral, Grakthul's communications officer reported, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 captains. Surrender? We outnumber them 50-1. Sir, we've lost over 3,000 ships. They've lost 12. Grakthul looked at his tactical display. The beautiful formation was gone, replaced by scattered groups of ships fleeing in random directions. His perfect military plan had collapsed completely. All remaining ships, concentrate fire on their largest vessel, he ordered desperately. Every working Vortani weapon focused on Park Sun's masterpiece. The ship Li Wu had nicknamed the Angry Brick. Hundreds of plasma beams struck the ugly rectangular warship. Its armor glowed like a star, sections melted away, entire weapon systems were destroyed. The ship kept fighting. Backup systems kicked in when primary systems failed. Emergency power replaced damaged reactors. Automated systems took over when the crew was killed. And when the ship was finally too damaged to fight effectively, it did something that made the surviving Vortani flee in terror. It exploded. Not accidentally. Deliberately. Park Sun had programmed the final system to overload all 3 fusion reactors simultaneously when the ship could no longer fight. The explosion was visible from the outer planets. It also destroyed 47 Vortani ships that had closed in for the kill. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the Vortani Grand Fleet, the pride of galactic civilization, was running for home. They had lost 6,000 ships to an enemy they had outnumbered 50-1. Admiral Grakthul's final message was broadcast across the galaxy. The humans. Their ships are fucking invincible. The message was intercepted by news networks, diplomatic channels, and military commanders on 1,000 worlds. Within hours, every species in the galaxy knew that the impossible had happened again. The humans had won. Engineer Park Sun stood in the middle of the biggest construction project in human history. The New Terra shipyard stretched across 50 kilometers of orbital space, with thousands of workers building warships as fast as they could weld steel plates together. How many can we finish before the Vortani arrive? Asked Admiral Kim Bo, floating beside her in a maintenance pod. Park Sun checked her tablet. 15 more ships. But Admiral, these aren't like anything the galaxy has seen before. She pointed to the ship taking shape in front of them. It looked like someone had strapped guns to an apartment building. The hull was a massive rectangle covered in armor plating thick enough to walk on. Weapon ports lined every surface. I call her the Sledgehammer class, Park Sun said proudly. 12 railguns, 4 missile pods, nuclear torpedo tubes, and enough armor to stop a small moon. And it's powered by 3 fusion reactors. If one breaks, the other 2 keep working. If 2 break, the third one can still power the weapons. And if all 3 break, she grinned. Well, we can ram something really hard. Kim Bo shook his head in amazement. The aliens are going to hate this. Across the galaxy, they already did. Zeph-9 had infiltrated human computer networks to steal the new ship designs. The Silicon Collective's analysis programs had crashed 12 times, trying to understand human engineering philosophy. Their primary computer core is distributed across 47 independent processing units. Zeph-9 reported to the Collective Council. Destroying the command bridge does not disable the vessel. Each section can operate independently. That is impossible, stated Prime Node Alpha 12. All ships require central coordination for optimal performance. Human ships do not appear to prioritize optimal performance. They prioritize continued function under extreme damage conditions. The Council processed this information. It made no logical sense. Efficient systems had single points of control. Redundant systems were wasteful and complicated. Show us their weapon systems, ordered Beta 7. The tactical display filled with human railgun specifications. The Collective's analysis was devastating. The weapons were crude, inefficient, and absolutely unstoppable by any known defense system. They have also developed something they call nuclear missiles, Zeph-9 continued. These weapons use atomic fusion to create massive explosions. The Council fell silent. Nuclear weapons had been abandoned by civilized species millions of years ago. They were crude, destructive, and completely without elegance. Only barbarians would use such things in modern warfare. Do humans have any concept of civilized warfare? Asked Gamma 3. Our cultural analysis suggests they do not. They appear to view combat as a problem to be solved through maximum application of force, rather than an art form to be perfected. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Yundal was training human pilots in tactics that would have horrified galactic military academies. Instead of precise formations and coordinated movements, he taught chaos. Spread out, he told the rookie pilots.
Stay at least 1,000 kilometers from each other.
If the enemy can predict where you'll be, you're doing it wrong. But sir, asked pilot Kang Min, how do we coordinate attacks without staying together? You don't coordinate. You all attack the same general target area and trust everyone else to do their job. The enemy can't plan against random behavior. This was completely opposite to everything other species had learned about space warfare. Galactic military doctrine emphasized perfect formation flying, synchronized attacks, and predictable battle patterns. Humans were teaching their pilots to be as unpredictable as possible. Commander Na Jin had been busy too. His intelligence network had discovered something interesting about galactic warfare. Nobody had fought a real war in over 1,000 years. They've all gotten soft, he reported to Admiral Kimbo. Every species uses the same weapons, same tactics, same defensive systems. When they have conflicts, they usually negotiate settlements before anyone actually fights. So they're not used to actual violence? They're not used to anyone trying to kill them, sir. Space combat for them is like a formal dance. Very pretty, very precise. And nobody really gets hurt because everyone has the same defensive capabilities. And if someone shows up who doesn't dance? Najin smiled grimly. Then the music stops. Park Sun was putting the finishing touches on her most insane creation yet. The ship didn't even have a proper name. She just called it the Angry Brick. It was built for one purpose, to keep fighting no matter what happened to it. Explain to me again why you built a ship with no engine, said Captain Li Wu, who had been assigned to command the thing. It has engines, Park Sun protested. They're just built into the armor. If the main engines get destroyed, backup engines kick in. If those get destroyed, emergency engines take over. If those get destroyed, you've still got maneuvering thrusters. And if everything gets destroyed, then you drift into the enemy ships and explode your nuclear reactor right next to them. Li Wu stared at the ship's specifications. Every system had backups. The backups had backups. The ship could lose 70% of its mass and still keep fighting. This is completely insane, he said. I know. Isn't it great? Dr. Chohana was having less fun. The galaxy's diplomatic community was in panic. Species that had maintained peaceful relations for centuries were choosing sides. Some wanted to help the humans, others wanted to help the Vortani. And most just wanted the whole situation to go away. The Spiral Federation demands that humans abandon kinetic weapons immediately, announced Ambassador Kretal during the emergency Galactic Council session. Such barbaric tools have no place in civilized warfare. The Geometric Alliance agrees, added Velnoth. Energy weapons are clean, efficient, and honorable. These railguns are crude and destructive. Chohana stood up in the council chamber. With respect, ambassadors, our railguns work. Your energy weapons don't affect our ships. We're not going to throw away working weapons to make you feel better. The chamber erupted in angry chittering, beeping, and harmonics as dozens of species protested at once. The translator systems couldn't keep up with all the outrage. Order! Order! Called Chairman Prexnall of the Centauri Republic. The human delegate has the right to speak. Johanna looked around the chamber. You're all upset because we don't follow your rules. But your rules only work if everyone agrees to them. The Vortani Empire didn't ask us politely to leave their space. They tried to destroy a ship full of families. We defended ourselves with the tools we had. But your tools are so crude, protested Kretal. So they work, and now you're all scared because someone finally showed up who doesn't fight the way you expect. The chamber fell silent. Finally, Zeph9's mechanical voice spoke. The human delegate raises a disturbing question. If kinetic weapons are superior to energy weapons, what does this mean for galactic military balance? It means, Johanna said quietly, that maybe your perfect weapons aren't so perfect after all. Back at New Terra, Park Sun was loading the last ship with ammunition. Unlike alien vessels that carried limited energy charges for their elegant weapons, human ships were packed with physical ammunition. Railgun rounds, missiles, torpedoes, and nuclear warheads filled every available space. Are you sure this is safe? Asked one of her assistants, watching workers load a nuclear warhead the size of a small car. Park Sun grinned. Probably not. But safe is boring. And boring doesn't win wars against aliens with 10,000 ships. The final human ship rolled out of the construction bay, 12 hours before the Vortani Grand Fleet arrived. 215 human vessels faced 10,000 alien ships. By every measure of military science, it should have been a massacre. The humans couldn't wait to prove military science wrong again. News of the human victory traveled fast through the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, alien species watched the battle recordings with growing amazement and horror. Zeph9, the artificial mind that spoke for the Silicon Collective, processed the data for the third time. The numbers made no sense. Primitive ships with basic metal armor had defeated Vortani plasma cannons. Energy shields that had protected ships for millennia were useless against simple kinetic weapons. The Collective had watched galactic warfare for thousands of years. Every species used the same basic principles: energy weapons, energy shields, elegant ships that danced through space like art pieces. Combat was predictable, mathematical, beautiful in its precision. Humans threw chunks of metal really hard and won. Dr. Johanna sat in the newly built embassy on New Terra, humanity's first colony world. Aliens from 12 different species had come to meet these strange creatures who fought wars all wrong. She studied her notes, trying to understand how to talk to beings who had never met anything like humans before. The first visitor was Kretal from the Spiral Federation. The bird-like alien moved with quick, nervous gestures as it spoke. Your species is very young, yes? Perhaps you do not understand the proper way of space combat. We could teach you to build real weapons, energy-based systems that civilized beings use. Johanna smiled politely. That's very kind, but our weapons seem to work fine. But they are so crude, so wasteful. A single plasma cannon uses energy efficiently, strikes precisely, causes minimal collateral damage. Your railguns just throw metal everywhere. And that's bad because? Kretal's feathers ruffled in confusion. Because it is not elegant, not refined. Civilized beings do not wage war like barbarians. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Admiral Grakthul stood before the Vortani High Council. The elegant chamber was built from living crystal that sang with harmonic frequencies. The 12 council members sat in chairs that floated above the floor, their insect forms glowing with bioluminescent patterns that showed their emotional states. Explain again how 30 ships lost to 5 primitive vessels, commanded High Counselor Vexnarn. Grakthul's glow patterns showed deep embarrassment. Their weapons bypass our shields completely. They use kinetic projectiles instead of energy beams. Our defensive systems cannot stop solid matter moving at such velocities. Impossible. Energy shields stop everything. Not rocks, apparently. The council members' light patterns flickered with confusion. For 10,000 years, the Vortani Empire had ruled through technological superiority. Their weapons were more powerful, their shields stronger, their ships faster than anyone else's. They had evolved beyond crude physical weapons long ago. Perhaps, suggested Counselor Hexfifth, we should study their methods. Learn from this defeat. Learn from primitives? Vexnarn's patterns flashed with anger. Never. We will build bigger plasma cannons, more powerful shields. The Grand Fleet will show these humans proper warfare. Back on Earth, Admiral Kimbo reviewed the intelligence reports coming in from across the galaxy. Commander Najin's spy network was growing fast as aliens lined up to either study or hire humans. Sir, Nijin reported, we're getting requests from 17 species who want to hire human mercenaries. Apparently nobody knows how to fight kinetic weapons. What about military intelligence on potential enemies? That's the strange part, Admiral. Every military in the galaxy uses identical basic technology. Energy weapons, energy shields, precise formation flying, elaborate battle protocols. They've been fighting the same way for thousands of years. Kim Bo studied the tactical displays, so they've gotten stuck in their ways, completely stuck. They spend centuries perfecting energy efficiency and shield harmonics. Nobody thought to just hit things with rocks. Engineer Park Sun was having the time of her life. Her workshop on New Terra had become the most important military research facility in human space. Aliens came daily to study her designs, and she enjoyed their reactions. "This is your primary weapon system?" asked Velnoth, a crystalline being from the Geometric Alliance. Its body looked like a walking diamond, perfectly symmetrical and beautiful. "Yep. Railgun. Throws a piece of steel at really high speed. But where is the energy conversion system? The harmonic targeting array? The shield frequency modulators?" Park Sun grinned and patted the simple metal tube. "Don't need any of that stuff. Point it at the bad guy and shoot. Works every time." Velnoth's crystalline form flickered with what might have been distress. "But how do you achieve optimal energy efficiency?" "We don't worry about that. We just use more energy." "More energy? But that is so wasteful." "So? We've got fusion reactors. Energy is cheap." The alien fell silent for several minutes. Finally it asked, "Your ships have multiple backup systems, yes? In case the primary systems fail?" "Multiple backups for the backups," Park Sun confirmed. "If something breaks, we fix it and keep fighting." "But that makes your ship so heavy." "So inefficient." Park Sun shrugged. "Heavy ships are hard to kill, and we're not trying to win beauty contests." Lieutenant Yoon Dal was training the first class of human space combat officers when the alert came in. Long-range sensors had detected a massive fleet heading toward human space. The Vortani Grand Fleet was coming. He called Admiral Kim Bo immediately. "Sir, we count over 10,000 ships. It's the largest fleet movement in recorded galactic history. How long until they reach us?" 3 weeks, sir. They're not trying to hide. This is meant to be a show of overwhelming force." Kim Bo was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. "Contact all human colonies. Tell them to prepare for the largest military exercise in human history. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you mess with our people." On the Vortani flagship, Grak Thul studied the intelligence reports about human military capabilities. The primitives had built 200 ships in the past year. Ugly, crude vessels covered in armor plating and bristling with kinetic weapons. 200 ships against 10,000, he told his staff officers. "This time, we will show them the power of proper military doctrine." His aide, Sub-Commander Tech Rill, highlighted the tactical displays. "Admiral, our analysis suggests the humans will attempt to use their kinetic weapons again. Perhaps we should modify our battle plans." "Absolutely not. We will advance in perfect formation as military tradition demands. Their crude weapons cannot possibly affect all 10,000 ships. This is a matter of honor now." Dr. Chohana received one final diplomatic message before the battle. It came from Zeph 9 of the Silicon Collective. "Human Hana, our calculations suggest your species faces extinction in the coming engagement. The collective offers sanctuary for your non-combatants in exchange for detailed technical specifications of your kinetic weapons." She sent back a simple reply. "Thanks, but we'll take our chances. Humans are really good at not dying when we're supposed to." The galaxy held its breath as two completely different ways of thinking about warfare prepared to meet in space. Most observers expected it to be over quickly. They were right, but not in the way they thought. Captain Li Wu stared at the massive alien ships floating in space ahead of them. The Vortani fleet looked like elegant glass sculptures, all smooth curves and bright lights. Their ships glowed with energy shields that made them look like floating jewels against the black of space. His own ship, the UES Defiance, looked like a flying brick next to them. The hull was thick steel plates welded together. Pipes and cables ran along the outside. It had started life as a cargo hauler before Engineer Park Sun turned it into something that could fight. "Captain, they're sending us a message," said Lieutenant Yoon Dal from his position at the communication station. "Put it on screen," Li Wu replied. The alien that appeared looked like a tall insect with 4 arms and glowing eyes. Its voice came through the translator as cold and angry. I am Admiral Grakthul of the Vortani Empire. You primitive creatures have entered sacred Vortani space. Turn your metal boxes around and leave, or we will destroy you. Li Wu looked around his bridge. His crew of 20 humans looked back at him. They had signed up to protect the colony ship New Horizon, which carried 50,000 people looking for a new home. Behind them, families with children were depending on them. Tell him we're just passing through, Li Wu said. We don't want trouble. Grakthul's insect face twisted with what might have been disgust. Passing through? This system belongs to the Vortani for 10,000 years. No primitive species may enter without permission. You have 1 minute to turn around. Park Sun's voice came from the engine room. Captain, their energy readings are off the charts. Those ships have more power than our entire fleet combined. Li Wu counted the enemy ships, 30 of them, each one bigger than his escort vessels. The humans had brought 5 ships to protect the colony transport. It should have been hopeless. Park, how are our modifications holding up? He asked. The armor plating is solid, Captain. Triple-layered steel with ceramic backing. The cooling systems are running water through the hull spaces, and the railguns are loaded and ready. Li Wu had thought Park Sun was crazy when she suggested their weapons. Instead of energy beams like everyone else in the galaxy seemed to use, she had built guns that threw chunks of metal really, really fast. She called them railguns. 30 seconds primitives, Grakthul announced. Captain, said Dr. Chohana from the science station, their weapons appear to be plasma-based energy systems. Very advanced, but what? They're designed for fighting other energy-shielded ships. I'm not sure how they'll work against solid armor. The timer ran out. Grakthul's face filled with cruel satisfaction. So be it, all ships fire at will. Show these creatures the power of the Vortani Empire. Space lit up with brilliant beams of energy. 30 alien ships fired at once, their plasma cannons creating a light show that could be seen from planets away. The beams struck the human ships and nothing happened. Well, not nothing. The steel armor glowed where the energy hit it. Some plates turned red hot. But the ships kept flying. Damage report, Li Wu called out. Hull temperature rising, Park Sun reported, sounding amazed. The cooling system is handling it. Some outer plating is warped, but we're solid. On the screen, Grakthul's 4 eyes went wide. Impossible. Our weapons should have vaporized those metal shells. Li Wu smiled grimly. Park, return fire. All ships engage the enemy, the human railgun spoke. They didn't make pretty light beams. They just threw big chunks of metal at incredible speed. The projectiles were invisible until they hit. The first Vortani ship took a railgun round right through its middle. The elegant energy shield that protected it from plasma beams did nothing to stop a piece of steel moving at 10% the speed of light. The alien ship broke in half. What is this barbarism? Grakthul screamed. 2 more Vortani ships died in the next few seconds. Their beautiful shields flickered and failed as solid metal punched through them like paper. The aliens had spent thousands of years perfecting energy weapons and defenses. They had no idea how to deal with someone just throwing rocks at them really hard. The human ships spread out, not flying in the neat formations the aliens expected. Each captain made his own decisions, created chaos that the Vortani couldn't predict. When plasma beams hit human armor, the steel just got hot and kept working. Their shields are useless against kinetic weapons, Park Sun reported over the radio. It's like bringing a laser pointer to a gunfight. Commander Najin's ship, the Bulldozer, took a direct hit that melted half its armor. Instead of retreating, Najin ordered his ship to ram the nearest Vortani vessel. The aliens watched in horror as the ugly human ship crashed into their graceful cruiser, destroying both vessels but taking out an enemy worth 10 times as much. Captain, Yundal said, the colony ship is asking if they should run. Li Wu watched another Vortani ship break apart under railgun fire. Tell them to keep going. We've got this. Grakthul's fleet started pulling back. Half his ships were gone, destroyed by weapons that shouldn't have worked. His perfect energy shields were worthless. His advanced technology meant nothing against humans who just threw metal really hard. This is not over, primitives, the alien admiral broadcast. The Vortani Empire will return with the Grand Fleet. We will show you the true meaning of power. The surviving alien ships jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving the humans alone in space. Li Wu looked around his bridge. His crew was grinning. Outside, the colony ship New Horizon continued toward its new home, protected by 5 beat-up human vessels that had just defeated the most advanced military in the galaxy. Park, he said into his radio, Remind me to buy you a drink when we get planetside. Make it 2 drinks, Captain, came her reply. I'm pretty sure we just changed how space warfare works forever. Li Wu nodded, watching the stars ahead. He had a feeling she was right. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the best technology was the kind that just refused to break.